The conference room on Kepler Prime was huge and bright. Commander Jin Woo walked into the big space and looked around at all the different aliens sitting in their special seats. Some looked like tall birds with long necks. Others looked like giant bugs with clicking sounds coming from their mouths. There were even some that looked like living crystals that made musical sounds when they talked. Jin Woo wore her dark blue uniform with shiny buttons. She felt small in this giant room, but she had an important job to do. She walked to the human speaking area and pressed a button to make her voice loud enough for everyone to hear. "The Ravagers have attacked 17 of our colonies this month," she said. Her voice was strong and clear. "They killed everyone on those worlds. We need to send our armies to stop them right now." The room became very quiet. Nobody moved. Nobody made a sound. It was like all the aliens suddenly forgot how to talk. Finally, one of the bird-like aliens stood up. Her name was Tharlin, and she was from a planet called Altair. When she spoke, her voice sounded like singing. "Maybe we should try talking to them first," she said softly. Jin Woo felt angry. "Talk to them? They don't talk. They just kill. They burn entire planets until nothing is left alive." A crystal alien made some musical sounds. A machine turned the sounds into words that everyone could understand. "Fighting only makes more fighting," the machine said for the crystal alien. "We should build better shields instead." "Your shields don't work," Jin Woo said, trying not to shout. "The Ravagers break through everything. They destroy your shields like they're made of paper." More uncomfortable silence filled the room. Jin Woo looked around at all the alien faces. These creatures had lived in peace for so long that they forgot how to fight. They only knew how to hide behind walls and barriers. The idea of attacking someone seemed wrong to them. One alien that looked like a floating jellyfish spoke next. "Perhaps we could form a committee to study this problem," it said in a bubbling voice. "A committee?" Jin Woo couldn't believe what she was hearing. "While you're having meetings, the Ravagers are killing billions of people." The aliens started talking to each other in quiet voices. They used words like further research and diplomatic solutions and peaceful alternatives. Jin Woo listened to them and felt sick to her stomach. These aliens were smart and advanced, but they were also scared. They were too scared to fight. Back in a small device on Jin Woo's belt made a beeping sound. She looked at it and saw a message from Earth. The message was short but terrible. 3 more worlds are gone. New Kyoto, Haven's Rest and Prosperity Station. 4.2 billion people are dead. Jin Woo closed her eyes for a moment. She thought about all those people who died while these aliens sat in their comfortable chairs talking about committees. When she opened her eyes, she saw that the aliens were already getting up to leave. They were talking about what they wanted to eat for dinner and what trade deals they needed to make tomorrow. "Wait," Jin Woo called out, but most of them were already walking away. "People are dying out there," a few aliens turned to look at her. Their faces showed they felt bad about the situation, but they also looked helpless. "We're sorry for your loss," one of them said, "but violence is not the answer." "Then what is?" Jin Woo asked. But the aliens just shook their heads and left. Soon Jin Woo was alone in the big room. She sat down in her chair and put her head in her hands. For 200 years, humans had been part of this galactic confederation. They had followed the rules and tried to solve problems with words instead of weapons. But now, when monsters were killing innocent people, nobody wanted to fight back. Jin Woo thought about her home planet Earth. Humans used to fight wars all the time. It was terrible. But humans learned how to protect themselves and others. These aliens had never learned that lesson. They thought that being peaceful meant being safe. But they were wrong. Her communication device beeped again. This time it was Admiral Park Min from Earth. "Jin Woo," his voice said. "Come home immediately. We need to talk." Jin Woo stood up and looked around the empty conference room one more time. Tomorrow these aliens would meet again and talk about trade routes and mining rights. They would act like the Ravagers didn't exist. They would pretend that talking could solve everything. But Jin Woo knew better. She had seen what happened when good people refused to fight evil ones. The evil ones won. As she walked toward her ship, Jin Woo made a decision. If the Confederation wouldn't protect innocent people, then humanity would have to do it alone. They had done it before, back when Earth was a dangerous place full of wars and conflicts. Maybe it was time to remember those old lessons. The stars, outside, looked cold and distant, but Jinwoo knew that somewhere out there the Ravagers were planning their next attack. And somewhere else, the Confederation was planning another meeting. Admiral Park Min stood in front of a huge computer screen that covered the entire wall. The screen showed a map of space with thousands of tiny lights representing different planets and star systems. But what made Park Min feel sick were the red dots scattered across the map. Each red dot meant a dead world where the Ravagers had killed everyone. "Sir," Captain Lee Hana walked up to him holding a flat computer tablet. "I have the new reports about the Ravager attacks. They're not just attacking random places anymore. They're following our trade routes and hitting our factory worlds." Park Min nodded slowly. His face looked tired and worried. "They're getting smarter. They're learning how we do things." He turned around to face all the military officers standing in the room. "How long before they reach the main worlds where most people live?" Colonel Kim Tae looked at his computer and did some quick math. "If they keep attacking at this speed, maybe 18 months. Could be faster if they get more ships." Everyone in the room became very quiet. They all knew what that meant. The main worlds of the Confederation had almost 1 trillion living beings from dozens of different alien species. If the Ravagers reached those worlds, it would be the biggest disaster in galactic history. Park Min walked across the room to a special metal door that had been locked for a very long time. He put his hand on a scanner next to the door. The scanner checked his handprint, and then the heavy doors slowly opened. Inside was a vault full of old military books and plans that nobody had looked at for over 200 years. "Project Warhawk," Park Min announced to everyone in the room. "We're going to wake up our entire war fleet." Captain Lee Hana looked worried. "Sir, that goes against the Confederation military treaty. We signed papers promising we wouldn't build big armies or weapons anymore." Park Min pulled out dusty old files with pictures of Earth's military symbols on them. "Those treaties only work if the Confederation protects itself," he said. "When they won't fight, somebody has to." Within just a few hours, Park Min sent orders to every human shipyard and factory in space. Ships that had been changed into cargo haulers were taken apart and rebuilt as warships again. Factories that made mining tools stopped their work and started making plasma cannons and missiles instead. At the Colonial Defense meeting, Choi Soon raised her hand to speak. She was in charge of protecting all the human colonies. "The other alien species will think we're trying to start a war with them," she said. Park Min looked at her with serious eyes. "Let them think what they want. When the Ravagers come for their worlds, they'll be happy we still know how to fight." The work began immediately. In the Luna shipyards near Earth's moon, workers pulled old warships out of storage areas where they had been sitting for decades. These ships were covered in dust and their weapons hadn't been fired in centuries, but they were still deadly. Engineer Yu Sung was in charge of fixing the old ships. "These vessels were built during Earth's war period," he told his team. "Back when humans fought each other all the time. They're designed to take damage and keep fighting." The workers cleaned off the dust and rust. They replaced old computer systems with new ones. They tested weapons that hadn't been used since humans first joined the Confederation. Some of the older workers remembered stories their grandparents told about Earth's violent past. "My grandfather fought in the corporate wars," said mechanic Lim Ray as she worked on a plasma cannon. "He always said humans were good at 2 things, making peace and making war. Looks like it's time for the second one." News of humanity's military buildup spread quickly through the galaxy. Other species started asking questions. Some were worried, others were confused. The bird-like Altarians sent messages asking why humans were breaking their peace treaties. The crystal Vorthak made worried musical sounds about aggressive behavior. But Park Min didn't care what they thought. Every day more red dots appeared on his wall screen. Every day billions more people died while the Confederation held meetings and made committees. Captain Lee Hana brought him daily reports. "The Zephirites are asking for an explanation of our actions," she said. They want to know why we're building weapons. Tell them we're building weapons because someone needs to use them, Park Min replied. Tell them we're preparing for war because war is coming whether they want it or not. The alien species had lived in peace for so long that they forgot what war looked like. They had advanced technology, but it was all designed for defense. They could build strong shields and barriers, but they couldn't attack. They had evolved beyond violence, but that also meant they had evolved beyond the ability to protect themselves. Park Min understood something the aliens didn't. Sometimes peace could only be protected by those willing to fight for it. Sometimes good people had to do violent things to stop evil ones. As he watched his wall screen show more red dots appearing each day, Park Min made a promise to himself. The Ravagers would learn what happened when they threatened innocent people, and humanity still remembered how to pull the trigger. Captain Yoon-jae stood on the bridge of his warship called the Soul's Pride. Through the big window in front of him, he could see the planet Proxima 7 spinning slowly in space. But between his ship and the planet were dozens of Ravager ships. They looked like giant metal sharks with sharp edges and glowing red lights. "Sir, the Ravagers are moving into attack formation," said Lieutenant Kang Nari from her computer station. "They think we're going to run away like the other species do." Yoon-jae smiled, but it wasn't a happy smile. It was the kind of smile a hunter makes when he sees his prey walking into a trap. "They're about to learn that humans don't run," he said. "All ships move forward, we're going to attack." The other human captains in the fleet couldn't believe what they heard. For 200 years, space battles were always about defense. You built strong shields, you tried to protect your ships, and you hoped the enemy would get tired and leave. But Yoon-jae was ordering them to charge straight at the enemy. "Target their biggest ship," Yoon-jae commanded. "That's where their leader is. When we destroy it, the rest will panic." The Ravagers had fought many battles before, but they always fought against aliens who were scared. The bird-like Altarians would fly away as fast as they could. The crystal Vorthak would hide behind their energy shields and hope the Ravagers would leave. The insect Zephyrite would retreat to their homeworlds and lock their doors. But humans were different. The human ships moved forward like a pack of wolves hunting together. They didn't try to protect themselves. They only cared about destroying the enemy. "Fire all weapons," Yoon-jae ordered. The space around Proxima 7 lit up like a fireworks show. Bright beams of energy shot from the human ships toward the Ravager fleet. Missiles flew through the darkness, leaving trails of light behind them. The Ravagers fired back, but they were confused. They didn't understand why the humans weren't trying to run away. Lieutenant Kang Nari watched the enemy ships on her screen. "Sir, they're trying to retreat. Their formation is falling apart." "No retreat," Yoon-jae said coldly. "Hunt them down. Kill them all." The human fleet split into smaller groups. Each group chased after the running Ravager ships like dogs chasing rabbits. They used the gravity from nearby planets to move faster. They hid behind asteroids and jumped out to surprise the enemy. They fought like Earth animals, not like civilized space travelers. Down on the planet's surface, Major Oh Shung was leading human soldiers against Ravagers who had landed there. The aliens thought they would find scared civilians hiding in their homes. Instead, they found human soldiers who fought back. "They don't know how to fight real soldiers," Shung told his men as they moved through the city streets. "They're used to killing helpless people. We're not helpless." The Ravagers were big and strong with thick armor and powerful weapons, but they fought like wild animals, all anger and no thinking. The human soldiers fought like professionals. They worked together, used smart tactics, and never panicked. Xiong's team trapped a group of Ravagers in a building. The aliens kept charging forward, trying to overwhelm the humans with brute force. But the humans had set up crossfire positions. Every time a Ravager ran forward, he got shot from 3 different directions. "They fight the same way every time," Xiong said into his radio. "No strategy, no teamwork. Just rage and violence." In space, the battle was ending. The last Ravager ship tried to escape, but 3 human vessels surrounded it. The alien ship fired desperately in all directions, but it was hopeless. "This is Captain Yoon-jae," came a voice over the radio to the Ravager ship. "Surrender now and we might let you live. The Ravager captain responded with angry growls and threats. He said humans were weak and cowardly. He said the Ravager fleet would come back and kill everyone. Wrong answer, Yoon-jae said calmly. He ordered his ships to fire. The last Ravager ship exploded in a ball of bright fire. Pieces of metal drifted away into the darkness of space. The battle was over, but across the galaxy, other alien species watched recordings of the fight. They saw how the humans fought with cold intelligence instead of hot anger. They saw how human ships worked together like parts of one big machine. They saw how humans didn't just defeat the Ravagers. They completely destroyed them. The bird-like Altarians gathered in emergency meetings. The humans fight like nothing we've ever seen, they whispered to each other. They're more dangerous than the Ravagers. The crystal Vorthak made worried musical sounds. Their songs talked about the sleeping beast that had awakened among the HFY stars. Even the insect Zephirites, who were naturally aggressive, felt nervous. Humans don't fight to survive, their general said. They fight to win. There's a difference. Back on his ship, Captain Yoon-jae looked at the debris floating where the Ravager fleet used to be. His crew was celebrating their victory, but Yoon-jae felt tired. He knew this was just the beginning. The galaxy had forgotten that sometimes peace could only be kept by those willing to make war. The other species would learn to fear humanity now. But maybe that wasn't such a bad thing. Admiral Park Min stood on the bridge of his flagship called the Incheon. It was the biggest and most powerful warship humans had ever built. Through the massive front window, he could see something that made his heart beat faster. Hundreds of Ravager ships floated in space around a dark planet that had no sun. This was the Ravager home base. For months, human spies had searched for this secret place. The Ravagers thought they were safe here, far away from any star system where other species might find them. But they were wrong. Fleet report, Park Min ordered. Captain Shin Mira looked at her computer screens. All battle groups ready, sir. 237 ships, all weapons loaded and ready to fire. Park Min had brought every human warship he could find. This wasn't going to be a small battle like the ones before. This was going to be total war. The kind of war that would end the Ravager threat forever. Commander Baek Jin, who planned all the battle strategies, pointed at the enemy formation. Look how they've arranged their ships, sir. They've made a big circle around their base planet. They think it will protect them. Park Min nodded. They don't understand human military thinking. When we go to war, we don't try to capture things. We destroy everything. The Ravager fleet was impressive to look at. Their ships were huge and covered with spikes and sharp edges. They had weapons that could blow up entire cities. Their base planet was covered with factories that built more weapons and ships. Any other species in the galaxy would have been scared to attack such a strong enemy. But humans were different. Humans had learned warfare during Earth's bloody history. They knew that the best way to win a war was to hit the enemy so hard and so fast that they couldn't fight back. Begin the attack, Park Min commanded. What happened next was like watching a star explode. Every human ship fired all their weapons at the same time. The darkness of space became bright as day. Energy beams, missiles, and plasma cannons all shot toward the Ravager fleet. The aliens had never seen anything like it. They were used to fighting enemies who were careful and defensive. The bird-like Altarians would fire a few shots and then retreat. The crystal Vorthak would shoot once and then hide behind their shields. But humans fired everything they had without stopping. Their front line is breaking apart, reported Captain Shin Mira. Half their ships are already destroyed. The Ravagers tried to fight back, but they were confused and scared. They had always been the ones who attacked first. They had always been the ones who overwhelmed their enemies with superior numbers. Now they were the ones being overwhelmed. Their biggest ship, a massive battle cruiser with the Ravager leader inside, tried to break through the human attack formation. It was 3 times bigger than any human ship, with armor so thick that normal weapons couldn't hurt it. Their command ship is trying to escape through our left side, Shin Mira announced. Park Min had been waiting for this. Perfect. Spring the trap. The Ravager command ship pushed forward, thinking it could smash through the smaller human vessels. But as soon as it moved away from the main fleet, Dozens of human ships that had been hiding in the darkness suddenly appeared around it. The Ravager leader had walked right into an ambush. "Fire everything at that ship," Park Min ordered. "Don't stop until it's dead." 50 human warships surrounded the giant Ravager vessel and attacked it from all sides. The alien ship fired back desperately, its weapons flashing red in the darkness. But it was like one elephant trying to fight a pack of tigers. No matter how strong it was, it couldn't fight in all directions at once. The battle lasted for 6 hours. When it was over, the Ravager fleet was completely destroyed. Their base, planet, was burning. Their factories were ruins. The few ships that survived were running away as fast as they could, scattered in all directions across the galaxy. But the most important thing that happened wasn't the destruction of the Ravager fleet. It was what the other species in the galaxy thought when they watched recordings of the battle. The bird-like Altarians watched the videos in their government buildings and were silent for hours. They had never seen such complete destruction. The humans hadn't just won the battle. They had wiped out the entire Ravager civilization in one day. The Crystal Vorthak made sad musical sounds. Their songs spoke of fear and worry about the terrible weapon that humanity had become. Even the peaceful species that had always liked humans began to feel nervous. They realized that the friendly humans they knew were also capable of incredible violence. Ambassador Tharlan of Altair sent a message to all the other species. "We must discuss the human military situation immediately. They have shown power. That exceeds all of our fleets combined." Park Min received reports about these worried alien meetings, but he didn't care. He stood on his bridge looking at the wreckage of the Ravager fleet floating in space. His job was done. The threat was eliminated. "Sir?" Captain Shin Mira approached him. "The other species are scared of us now." Park Min sighed. "Good. Maybe now they'll think twice before ignoring the next threat that comes along." He knew the galaxy would never be the same. Humanity had revealed its true strength, and everyone else would have to live with that knowledge. The big meeting room on Kepler Prime had never been so quiet before. Commander Jin Woo walked to the front of the room where all the alien representatives sat in their special seats. But today was different. Today nobody was talking about trade deals or mining rights. Today everyone was staring at her with fear in their eyes. Jin Woo pressed the button to make her voice loud and clear. "The Ravager threat is over," she announced. "We destroyed over 800 of their ships. Their military is gone. They can't hurt anyone anymore." The numbers were incredible, but what really scared the aliens was thinking about the human war fleet that was still flying around space. Every alien species knew that humanity now had more military power than all of them put together. Ambassador Tharlan from Altair stood up slowly. Her bird-like neck was shaking a little. "The Confederation is grateful for humanity's help," she said carefully. "But we're worried about having so much military power in one place." Jin Woo felt angry. "Worried? For 200 years you lived in peace while forgetting how to protect it. When the Ravagers came to kill billions of people, where were your armies? Where was your courage?" A crystal alien made some musical sounds that got translated by a machine. "We evolved beyond such primitive violence," the machine said for the crystal being. "You evolved into prey," Jin Woo said loudly. "Your evolution made you helpless. The only reason you're sitting here talking about philosophy instead of dying in slave camps is because one species remembered that sometimes you have to fight." The silence that followed was different from the old days. Before, the aliens had ignored humans because they thought humans were unimportant. Now they were quiet because they were afraid. Young Ho, who was Earth's new representative for colonial affairs, stood up to speak. "We never wanted this job," he said to all the aliens. "We would have been happy to stay as just one voice among many. But when civilized people refuse to defend civilization, someone else has to step up." In the weeks after the meeting, the galaxy began to change in ways nobody expected. Some of the smaller alien species asked humanity for protection. They were worried that other dangerous enemies might appear, and they wanted human soldiers to guard their planets. Other species tried to form their own military alliances. The bird-like Altarians joined together with the insect Zephyrite to build a combined fleet. The crystal Vorthak started making weapons for the first time in 1,000 years. But even when they worked together, their military power was much smaller than what humans had. Some aliens became very scared of humanity. They started making secret plans and holding private meetings. They whispered about the human problem and wondered if Earth was going to conquer the galaxy. But Admiral Park Min didn't want to conquer anyone. He sat in his office on Earth looking out the window at the stars. His assistant, Captain Lee Hanna, came in with reports from the outer edge of space. "Everything is quiet on the frontier, sir," she said. "The Ravager survivors have run away to unexplored space. No hostile activity anywhere." Park Min nodded but kept looking at the stars. "It won't stay quiet, Hanna. There will be other dangerous enemies, other problems, and when they come..." Park Min smiled, but he looked tired. "The galaxy will look to us again, and we'll help them, because nobody else will." The truth was that humanity had become something they never planned to become. They were now the galaxy's policemen, the ones everyone called when there was trouble. It was a lonely job that nobody else wanted. Captain Lee Hanna looked at reports from different planets. "The Confederation Council is meeting again next week. They want to discuss military regulations and power balance." "Let them talk," Park Min said. "When the next crisis comes, they'll forget all about regulations. They'll beg us to save them again." On distant worlds, alien children learned new lessons in school. They learned about the sleeping giant called humanity. They learned that humans looked peaceful and friendly, but they could become incredibly dangerous when threatened. Some alien parents told their children scary stories about what happened to enemies who made humans angry. But on Earth, human children learned different lessons. They learned about duty and sacrifice. They learned that sometimes good people had to do hard things to protect innocent lives. They learned that being strong meant using that strength to help others, not to hurt them. Commander Jin Woo returned to Earth after the final Confederation meeting. She met with Admiral Park Min in his office. "The aliens are scared of us now," she told him. "Maybe that's not such a bad thing," Park Min replied. "Fear can prevent wars just as well as friendship can." Outside the window, Earth's defense fleets moved through space like silent guardians. They watched over a galaxy that both needed them and feared them. The humans on those ships knew they were alone in a strange way. They were the only species willing to fight when fighting was necessary. The galaxy had peace, but it was a peace protected by those who remembered war. And when the next threat came from the darkness between stars, humanity would be ready to pull the trigger again, because nobody else would.